Hello, everybody. All engineers, please raise your hand. Wonderful, at least 10. So I must give a warning. I'm an engineer myself, and I really love this situation to speak about the power of design in a design event. But I have been doing this for many years for many engineering students. And engineers are interesting creatures. There are something that has happened in their minds. I have asked a question many times for engineering students or engineers who have not been contaminated with any lectures of design and so forth. What does design mean to you? Well, quite many of them are able to give an answer that design is something that is fancy, expensive, and useless. If you give a bit more time, well, yes, many agree that this kind of artifacts are often designed, and quite many also agree that products that compete heavily on markets with the same technology, you must have the something that makes the difference between the product brands and so forth. But then, if we go to the hobby side, athletes, playing of golf, it seems to be no limit how much people are willing to pay for the gadgets to be better players or faster runners and so forth. There's one thing, a very simple metrics that is often used for figuring out the added value. It's price per kilogram, and this is the price of a beef in the local market. But how is it with some engineered products? Paper, that is produced in a very complex and really well fine-tuned process, but the price per kilo is still obviously less than $1,000 per 1 ton, so less than €1 per kilo. Windmills, a 1 megawatt windmill may weigh some 300 kilos and cost for 1.5 million euros. So we are speaking about the kilo price of 5 euros. A bit more advanced technologies, maybe 50. These kind of fine mechanics, well-branded products, it's already 500 up to 2,000 euros per kilo. But I see that some of you are wearing glasses. This is very exciting example. The most lightweight frames for glasses, 1.8 grams, and they are sold out with the price of 180 euros. So this equation is quite interesting. What is the customer paying for? Well, of course, the comfort and lightweight, but there must be something else as well. So these kind of things are quite interesting, and they raise some discussion with the engineers, who often then ask the next question, that if we are developing products for these kind of conditions, who cares about design? Well, if we go to the factories and look on this, I would say this is a very typical 1970s design for a complex process machine. A typical result where we end up with the multi-disciplinary team compiled by mechanical engineers, manufacturing experts, process experts, instrumentation and automation, and pneumatics and hydraulics experts. So everybody is doing well his or her job in their own silos, but the final outcome is not very easy to use, not very easy to maintain, and it's quite complex and also even not as reliable as we would like it to be. If we compare this to the next generation, you can see quite obvious differences in maintainability, operability, and even lighting of the system to enable the operator to have a good vision to those most important parts of the machine. And then the final version, everything's covered, the moisture, dust, dirt is kept inside, but when maintenance is needed, you can very easily remove the whole cover and get good access to the heart of the machine. I have collected these pictures of cars from different advertisements, and as you see, there are cars in a bit different kind of categories: Volkswagen, Audi, Mercedes, Citroën, Tata, the cheapest automotive in serial manufacturing, and I forgot the name of that, but in the upper right corner it's a low-cost car. But the thing is that, have you ever noticed that in a magazine where there is an advertisement for selling cars, that in the corner somewhere there is a small text saying that the car in the picture is equipped with some special gear? Has anyone noticed something like that? Okay. My question is, what is that? What can you see from those pictures? Well, I can answer my own question. The only thing you can really see is that all the cars are equipped with aluminium wheels. And this is a nice topic to be discussed with engineers, because I can ask, tell me all the benefits that you will get by buying the aluminium wheels that are 3 times more expensive, because there are none. But why are all the cars in the advertisements equipped with those? Well, that often wakes some thoughts. This is from the production line from a Finnish tractor maker in 1950s. At that time, they already noticed that the slogan, very well fitting to tractors, is that an appearance that will pull you on. Since then, many things have changed, and people think, okay, this is design. Yes, that's true, but it's only part of the truth. The real change has actually happened inside, around the farmer. You must understand that farming is a very seasonal business. When the most busy time is there, the farmers are working for 16 hours. Far away from their home, there is a need to carry some food stuff, computers for reporting for European Commission, and so forth. So a lot of effort and computer technology is applied for making his operational environment more efficient, more healthy, and not harming the health in the long run. And even if you open the hood of the tractor or a car, everything is different from older times. And this is also an interesting topic to be discussed. Why and what does it matter and there are many also technical reasons why to do design on such places that are not so often visible at all. So one of the key statements is that all artifacts made by man, they are designed, consciously or unconsciously, by experts, that is quite rare, and often by well-meaning hobbyists. So it's our decision which one we would like to apply, which approach shall we choose. It's often quite much about immaterial things and feelings and emotions. Imagine that you should go to the doctor and some treatment must be given to heal your disease. How would you feel when you come to the room before entering to this machine? Do you feel, how do you feel? Okay, a bit scary. This particular design or device is actually awarded by its good design some 40 years back, but things change. At that time, there was a saying that a medicine is no good if it does not taste bad. So maybe this design is also something that you really can believe that this machine has the power for healing any disease. Maybe this kind of design is more reflecting the thoughts of this decade. Maybe this machine is familiar for many of you. Is there anyone who has this kind of Kenwood machine at home? Yes? Actually, this picture, I took it from a book that was published 50 years ago. So it's quite old design, and many things have changed during those days. I wouldn't go with this slogan to Finnish market anymore. But one thing that has not changed that much is the machine itself. This is the model of 2013. So this is one aspect that it is possible to come up with solutions that do not get old-fashioned in a very short time, and they will carry over when the time passes. So for the engineering guys, my main message is that it's not actually depending on that much. Are we speaking about process lines or free time gadgets or handheld electronic devices or healthcare issues? There's always some space for design, but why I'm telling this story is to get forward, to avoid this kind of situations. The text here is in Finnish, but I can translate it. What you see in the picture, it's sort of a power suit designed for nurses in hospitals. As you all know, we are facing the aging population problem in the most European countries and even in Asian countries. So with this kind of power suit, the nurse has the power of 10 nurses and can really efficiently work with the patients on the bed department. But what is said in the picture is that the design of the prototype is not yet very user-friendly, but it will be made better. So my message for you and especially for the managers in industry companies and so forth is that maybe it's a bit too late to ask the designers to help in this phase. Maybe they should be there a bit earlier, and maybe the designers as experts should not be only seen as outsiders that come at certain point to help with projects or particular development things. Maybe they should be part also the internal processes in the organization, and also then develop some authority and power to become parts of the company boards and also part of the strategic planning. Well, technologies change, electronics, microprocessors become more efficient, the batteries and everything is developing, but perhaps it's even bigger change that has happened on the software and application side. The business there is already bigger than the hardware. Who could imagine some years back that people are willing to pay for an application that makes your picture look weird? We had some interesting discussions about Spotify. These kind of things, they change whole businesses radically. But if I come to my latter part of the presentation, the design factory as part of Aalto University, that was mentioned in the title, I often use this painting describing university education 650 years back. You can easily identify the professor, the students and the assistants, someone sleeping there, someone making notes. What has changed in these 650 years? Well, I think the biggest change is that we professors, we are not having our nice ivory towers anymore, like in this picture. So, for certain disciplines and purposes, I think this may be good, but not enough. Lecture as is not anything bad. Just think about this best-selling book by Randy Pausch, The Last Lecture. They had this tradition that retiring professors, they are giving their last lecture before they go, but in this case it really was his last lecture because he knew that he will die in cancer. So how does that make the situation? That is quite interesting thing to think about. Very late last year, Reuters published a survey by McKinsey where one of the final conclusions was that the employers, the education providers and youth, they seem to live in parallel universes by having exactly the same situation but completely different understanding. Well, to avoid this situation, we have been developing things for years, some plans and experiments and conceptual designs about this design factory concept that is now real. It has actually been working for 5 years in Finland, Espoo, Otaniemi, as part of Aalto University. So what it is, that is what I'm going to explain in the next slides. By definition, the design factory of Aalto University is an experimental co-creation platform for all of these three: education, courses, research, but also application of product design. And this definition also quite nicely defines who are the users. The biggest headcount is of course students, but also some research groups and business partners, companies, NGOs, other organizations. So every day when you come to this place, you can meet some representatives from each of these groups. We have one very simple goal for all this. We want to educate the best designers in the world. This is quite humble goal, but we have been thinking very much, what do we need for that? What are the enablers of something like this? Maybe many of you are familiar with this SlideShare website. I would just like to show you a few slides from this Shift Happens slide set. The statements that actually in the universities we are preparing students for jobs that do not exist by using technologies that haven't invented yet. Those kids who are in the high school 2013, if we are lucky, they will get their degree from university 2020, and we know that they will still be in working life in 2070. So what do we know about the world? How is it in 2070? Well, maybe some things may change fast, but some other things may change much slower. So these are my receipts for setting up a good factory in Finland, anywhere. Design for flexibility. Try to maintain the feeling of love, care, respect. Actually, the name of Aalto University, it came from a name-giving competition where 1,700 suggestions were filed in. For some time I was really unhappy that my own suggestion just came as second, but I'm coming over it. So instead of the University of Love and Culture, we now have Aalto University. But it has some benefits. For instance, in the list of universities in alphabetical order, it's always positioned well. The energy, level of energy, having fun, that is a question that some people often ask, that why it's so important. I will explain that in the next slide. It's about learning, and even the management of the university encourages us that, hey, you have your license to do things a bit differently. And of course, the students in Centric. The most important person of Aalto University is not the president or any of the deans. It's the student of Aalto University. So, my priorities for Design Factory, but for any of you, the answers for the question, what's the meaning of life, in decreasing orders of importance, are those that most important, it is to have fun. The second important thing is to learn something new every day. And then the third one, to work like crazy. But just in this order. If you violate the order, nothing good will come out. Believe me, you can try. And actually these are quite well in balance with the science of work psychology. What makes a good working environment? Only very simple things, that you understand what you do, what is expected from you, the demand of your work is in balance with your skills, and abilities, and you receive feedback. Okay. As professor, as Sasha mentioned, I'm instructing a course called Product Development Project. These are the figures from last academic year. We had 19 simultaneous projects, all with private companies or organizations, sponsors, and quite much work was put in those learning projects by the students and by the faculty as well. External funds were raised for that, a lot of traveling, and actually in the CNC milling machines, the spindles were rotating 2,221 hours. And for those who understand anything about manufacturing, it's a high number when the manufacturing serial size is maximum 1. I have a false figure in this slide. The number of cups of coffee is actually 42,000, so that's the main fuel for the engines of design factory. What comes to learning, the students who come from all disciplines, design, architecture, business, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, software, what do they actually learn during this kind of project learning course? Well, many things related to the topic, but in general, how to maintain safety, understand costs, design, prototyping, team learning issues, most importantly perhaps, communication, communicating with specialists from various fields. We can so easily use the same words and build sentences that seems to make sense and still understand each other in a totally different way. So the first slide about the university auditorium or classroom, why it's not enough? Well, lectures are good, but sometimes you just need to test. Have the feeling, how does it feel to use some special gear? Also, the setups where you can learn, where you as a novice product developer can learn from the experience from an older guy shall not be forgotten. Going outside of the university, the campus, the ship simulators or real ships, passenger ships, cargo ships, military ships, to learn how the navigation of a ship actually happens, or go to the laboratories or factories to know, to learn to know the materials, processes, or go to the gaming fair in London if you work with gaming industry. Or most of the students, they are not hunters. They don't have hunter experience themselves. But if they are asked to develop something that will increase hunting safety, I think the only good starting point is to go and get some experience. Hunting safety, you may wonder, Finland is a rather big country in square kilometers, and we only have 5 million people there, so you can just shoot, and it's a low probability that you will hit anything. But even if it's not a problem in Finland, in Spain only, during the last hunting season, more than 700 hunting accidents were reported. And not speaking about Italy, just in the first 2 days when the hunting season started, 13 people were killed. So it really is an issue. Product developers in general, they have, I don't know why, but they seem to have some issues to go to the potential users with unfinished prototypes or plans. And this is also something that we try to encourage the students to do, to use the opportunities to meet the potential users in the early phases. You can prototype and test interesting things. What you see in the picture seems to be an ordinary performance by the artists of the Finnish Music Academy. But what makes the difference is that we also had some guys from the State Research Center with their computer systems, and the performance hall was modeled in Second Life. All the artists, they had their avatars there, and even the audience from distant places, they could join in and have their own avatars and send in their online comments from England, from Italy, and it was quite interesting experiment of a new kind of music performance. Quick and dirty testing of ideas. What is happening in this picture? The students were asked to develop a method for healthcare industry to keep a patient still under digital imaging. And one of the simple ideas was that why don't we use some sort of vacuum force? So buy a regular vacuum cleaner, a plate, and this plastic line, and they made the first test. I was testing it as well. And I must say that this is something that makes the professor's life also interesting, especially when you need to explain to the accounting office why it was necessary to buy this silicone linen from a sex shop. Finding new kind of perspectives to things. We have one of our research groups hosted at Design Factory called Mind, and maybe you guys are familiar with those fast lane cashiers in shopping mall. If you just have a limited number of items, you can choose the fast lane. Yeah. So what was introduced in the biggest shopping mall in our town, Espoo, is a slow line cashier. There are even sofas and coffee, and the cashier lady has all the time to chat with you, as long as you want. It has become really popular. Doing design is demanding, and it's sometimes a bit desperate, but rewarding thing. But there's also often a need to tell about your work, tell your stories, and you never know who is coming for a visit, and you still shouldn't freeze or hesitate to explain your story. So this is quite an important part of the learnings. The Design Factory concept that we have in Finland has now spread, so that we have the second factory in Shanghai at Tongji University, the third one in Melbourne at Swinburne University of Technology. Then there is one in Santiago de Chile with the Pontificia University Católica, and also in Switzerland at CERN, the Particle Physics Research Center, and some others may come. So this has been quite interesting experiment and learning experience, how to come over the cultural borders, to bring in the design factory concept to completely different kind of environments. What are actually those core things that you can still have there if you go to such distant places? Well, at least there are some things that I would advise you to avoid, or if you want to build the factory from hell here in Ljubljana, then just pay attention on these to make it really bureaucratical, theoretical, conventional, very narrow, hierarchical, avoid any risks, and just put a lot of effort for administration. But sometimes it has been said to me that you must think how to end your presentation, so maybe this is not a very good final slide to end up with. So instead, I will finish with this very famous picture, actually, taken from, does anyone know where is it from? Tour de France, of course. That the year was 1923. As a symbol, I really love this, what is said in the picture. This is what I want to see at the design factory. This is what I would like to see here as well. The friendship and the spirit. Just think about the hardest biking competition in the world. Just in the toughest climbs at the mountains of Pyrenees. The guy there has the will to help his athlete mate to light up his cigarette. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you.